Hi, everyone. Welcome to our webinar today. The topic for today's webinar is deploying solar for manufactured homes in Colorado. This webinar is being presented by the Clean Energy States Alliance, also known as CESA. We have an exciting roster of speakers with us today. Before I pass it over to them, I'd like to go over a few quick webinar logistics. If you'd like to minimize your webinar console, you can do that by clicking on the orange arrow that you see circled here if you'd like to view your presentation full screen, or you can expand the webinar console with that orange arrow. And one thing you might like to do with your webinar console is to submit questions and comments. We will be saving some time at the end of our presentations for a Q&A with the audience. And we love to answer audience questions. We'll get to as many as we can, so please do type those in as you think of them. A final note, this webinar is being recorded, and we will send you an email with a copy of the webinar recording and a PDF of the slides either today or tomorrow. And those materials will also be posted on CESA's website at cesa.org/webinars. And that's a good URL to know because it is where all of our upcoming and archived webinars are posted. So with that, I would like to now pass it over to my colleague, Matt Olaf. Matt works here at the Clean Energy States Alliance as a project manager, and he will tell you more about today's webinar and the projects that he works on here.
Thank you, Sam. Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining the webinar today. As Sam mentioned, my name is Matt Olaf. I use he, him, his pronouns, and I'm a project manager at the Clean Energy States Alliance, also known as CESA. CESA is a national nonprofit coalition of public agencies and organizations working together to advance clean energy. CESA works with state leaders, federal agencies, industry representatives, and other stakeholders to develop clean energy programs and inclusive renewable energy markets. CESA members, mostly state agencies, include many of the most innovative, successful, and influential public funders of clean energy initiatives in the country. And you can see our members' logos on your screen right now. Next slide, please. Today's webinar, Deploying Solar for Manufactured Homes in Colorado, is a product of CESA's Scaling Up Solar for Under-Resourced Communities project. This project is an initiative aimed to accelerate the development of solar projects that benefit low and moderate income, or LMI, households and communities. This project has 3 tracks or subsets to develop the solar LMI market. Those subsets, as you can see on your screen, are single-family homes, multi-affordable housing, and today's focus, manufactured homes. This project is made possible through funding awarded from the U.S. Department of Energy, Solar Energy Technologies Office. Next slide, please. Again, this webinar is directly related to the Solar for Manufactured Homes track of the Scaling Up Solar for Under-Resourced Communities project. As you see on the slide, CESA has developed 2 reports as part of the Solar for Manufactured Homes subset. One report to lay out the general challenges and opportunities related to solar for manufactured homes, and one report profiling opportunities and challenges of solar for manufactured homes in 14 states across the country. There are more resources, including past webinars, on this project on CESA's website, and the link you can see on your screen right now for more information. There's also a working group as part of this project made up of state agencies and electric utilities looking to share information on best practices for deploying solar for manufactured homes. One of the working group members is Holy Cross Energy, an electric cooperative in Colorado. Lisa Reed sits on this working group on behalf of Holy Cross Energy. Lisa will be presenting today on a solar array that is in the works by Holy Cross Energy that will benefit LMI manufactured homes residents in their service territory. Next slide, please. Lisa works as a energy programs manager at Holy Cross Energy in Western Colorado. She has been fortunate to be riding this wave of industry changes with such an extremely forward-thinking and innovative cooperative. She has been with the cooperative since 2009 in a variety of roles. She recently changed from a larger power supply focus to energy programs, in order to facilitate and promote Holy Cross Energy's exciting new programs, including a Holy Cross Energy-owned residential sited battery storage program. Lisa received her master's degree from Colorado State University. She is a Colorado native and lives on the western slope of the Rocky Mountains. Real quick before I hand it over to Lisa, I will mention if anybody has any questions while Lisa is presenting, please put those in the chat and we'll go through them after Lisa presents. So thanks so much, and I will hand it off to Lisa.
Thanks, Matt and CISA, for having me today. I'm very excited to share information about my project. We call it Sustainable Solar, and I'll talk a little bit about why. Matt, can you go to the next slide? To give you an idea of who we are at Holy Cross Energy, I wanted to share a little bit about us. We are a rural electric cooperative in the western half of Colorado. We are named after a mountain, not a religious organization. We have a very diverse population that includes the ski resort towns of Aspen and Vail. We're a winter evening peaking cooperative with our summer peak coming in at less than half of our 250 megawatt peak, which poses a lot of issues and concerns with solar energy. But Colorado is a great solar state with 300 plus days of sunshine and moderate temperatures, not too hot, not too cold in our area. It really leads to great production capacity. At Holy Cross, we do have about 45,000 members, just to get an idea of how we might compare to your local utility. We do serve, the affluent second home communities in those resort towns, but we also meet the needs of our much larger service community and our local ranchers. If you'll go to the next slide, please. So our mission has been to lead the transition to a clean energy future, and we're committed to our goal of 100 by 30. We were SEPA's Cooperative of the Year in 2020, and we've really embraced that with our vision and our journey. So our journey to 100% renewable energy supply by 2030 is a lofty goal for Holy Cross Energy, or really any cooperative to undertake. But our unique wholesale contract with Xcel has allowed us more flexibility than most in this endeavor. So next slide. We're making a ton of progress. We ended 2020 at 50% renewable sourced energy. Our new resources that are under contract today will allow us to reach more than 85% clean and renewable energy by 2024. But we also know that to continue to move forward and to deal with issues like renewable oversupply, we need distributed energy resources, including local solar and storage. And we're looking for new technologies to come into play beyond our limitations today. We're ambitious, but we really believe we can get there by 2030, and we're dedicated to do so. But in addition to meeting our goals, we really wanted to be sure that we were serving all of our members. We recognize that there is an inequality in access to renewable energy. And until we can provide that to all of our members, we have our Sustainable Solar program to help. Next slide, please. Today, we have 2 small arrays on our campus in which 100% of the power they produce is provided to our low to moderate income level members as a bill credit. But we wanted to do more. So with the help of our partners, we identified a rural manufactured home neighborhood with a high energy burden. There was a centralized propane tank providing high-priced fuel to the homes. Due to the age of the homes, many of the furnaces were inefficient, they were failing, some were inoperable. Many residents there were supplementing their furnaces with electric space heaters, and we know that's not economical. Eagle County's beneficial electrification for Eagle County Housing Program was born. That's Beach. This program focused on this particular mobile home park as their pilot project. The goal is to weatherize and electrify the homes. Approximately 20 homes have been completely modernized with insulation, air sealing, heat pump water heaters, and induction stoves. The homeowners were even provided with the right cookware for those induction stoves. Verification has shown a decrease in their energy burden, and so many propane leaks were found in the process. They have safer and healthier homes. But the next logical step that we saw, we thought, let's get the park's residents access to clean energy through a community solar array. We wanted to locate it at the park, but the land available didn't work out. So we moved it to the nearby Eagle County Airport. And with their partnership and ours with the Colorado Energy Office and Eagle County, we are working on securing that land now. Matt, next slide, please. So the project will be 450 kilowatts of community solar. It will be funded mainly by a grant from the Colorado Energy Office and the now available investment tax credit direct pay benefits for nonprofits. I'm still working out some of those details, but I'm hoping that we can make that work for the nonprofits involved to capture that additional funding to increase the size of the array to the full 450 kilowatts we want to build. Our goal is to provide an average of 3 kilowatts of solar capacity per resident participating at no cost to them. We're focusing on residents that live in manufactured housing, whether it be in a park or on owned land. With this array, we plan to serve 150 members with clean, free, renewable energy. We're going to work to identify and enroll these members with assistance from the CISA financial support. In addition, the construction of the array will include a barn raising event so that those members can have a hands-on ownership interest in their energy source. Next slide, please. I had to put the slide in here. I couldn't help it. This picture is gorgeous. This is Eagle County Airport. It shows the small airport, but it also shows the amazing location in the Rocky Mountains. The array will be located on the northern side of the airport along Highway 6 to give great visibility for the project. Next slide, please. So this location is tough, but it's doable. We're working with the FAA, requesting federal land approval and an airport lease. The barn raising will need to be monitored and controlled due to restricted access. We have a 7-to-1 personnel and I spelled that wrong. Look at it, says personal. Whoops. Personnel access ratio. We do have our own badged employees there at Holy Cross Energy, so we'll be utilizing them along with airport personnel to facilitate the construction. This picture does show some interconnection options and some grade issues that we're working out. The kind of stars, the red and the blue, sit in the area of the array. Next slide, please. So we're going to use the PowerField Power Rack system. We own 2 other arrays using this technology. It allowed us to engage our community with volunteer labor to assemble a 200 kilowatt array last year in just 2 days. We even slowed it down to have an event there, have a media event for the community. So I really think we can complete this one in 3 days. Its tub-like racking system allows for quick deployment and movability in the future if needed. Their website, I've included here for your reference. And the reason I did is because it does have some videos of our last deployment. And one thing that we've really found with our involvement with PowerField is that the costs have beaten out those of rooftop solar and fell far below that of a typical ground mount array of this size. Next slide, please. As I mentioned, we're partnering with the Colorado Energy Office and Eagle County. Under Colorado Energy Office's weatherization program, we will identify first their clients who live in manufactured housing that meet the income criteria. Their clients are generally ones who have already undergone their weatherization program or are in the queue to do so. Colorado Energy Office has a rooftop solar component already in other areas of the state, but this is their first community style array. With such significant barriers to rooftop solar on manufactured housing, especially in some of the older stock we have here in our territory, we really believe this is a great option for their clients and our members. At no cost to the member, they will receive a lifetime of their home ownership or the array's lifetime enrollment. So Holy Cross Energy and Eagle County will work together to identify new enrollment in the Colorado Energy Office programs by local qualified residents living in the 1,500 manufactured homes existing in Eagle County. We have not yet identified those homes in our other two main counties that we serve of Pitkin and Garfield. So next slide. We're extremely excited by this project, but also know that the barriers that we are overcoming are not so easily done elsewhere. So I really wanted to touch on those and point out how we've been able to make things like funding happen. So we're really blessed by our partners. Our main partners in this project, Colorado Energy Office and Eagle County, are going to be able to make this happen. So Stephanie with the Colorado Energy Office is on this call. She's going to be available during the Q&A, but I also encourage you to reach out to her, reach out to your own community organizations and ask about the fundraising that might be available to you. At Holy Cross Energy, we have some of our own funding. In 2008, we surveyed our members we started in 2008, but for years prior to that, we'd actually surveyed our members several times about what they wanted to see and what they felt about bringing more renewable energy in. So in 2008, we added a 2% rider to every account to fund the program. We CARE stands for with efficiency, conservation, and renewable energy. Our expected budget for 2023 is $3 million. The goal of these funds is to increase the amount of renewable energy in our power supply mix through arrays like this. Through our members' rooftop solar, we actually still do offer an incentive for that for our members. It's also to provide rebates to our members for the purchase of energy efficient appliances and devices, for beneficial electrification, such as heat pumps, for converting from gas to electric, for heating sources and water heaters. We also encourage distributed flexible resources such as battery storage. My Power Plus program is an example of that and has some funding help from our We Care Fund. And we also use those funds to promote education and information about renewables, efficiency, conservation, and carbon emissions reduction. So in addition to these funding sources, the investment tax credit under the Inflation Reduction Act has brought the tax incentive into the nonprofits realm. Previously, we were not able to take advantage of the 30% ITC, and neither were our nonprofit community organizations. Holy Cross Energy, when a nonprofit was adding rooftop solar, we would provide them with additional rebates from our We Care Fund. But today, under direct pay, it is possible that a project such as this could see up to 50% additional funding potential. The next barrier really is location. Locations are hard to find. Land is expensive. So we built our first 2 sustainable solar arrays on our property at the utility campus. With communities and organizations' equity and environmental goals, we've really found that there's a lot of locations out there. There's a lot of community members that want to help. They want the visual of the solar array, and they want to be able to help their neighbors. The airport's goals and their federal land use, federal land use guidelines made this really a perfect fit for them to use land within their boundaries that might not be feasible for other purposes. That section that I showed you earlier, it's really a small corner of their property. It's surrounded by their perimeter fence, but it's really a land area that, because of the runway location, they don't have any good use for. It's perfect for a solar array. With community support and with a barn raising event, you can really make it fun. You can get the community involved. We received sponsorships for lunches for the volunteers. We're engaging our local community college, our environmental partners, and really the members that will be receiving the benefits. We're asking them and giving them the ability to take part of it. It really gives them the ability to have a hands-on contribution. And we're able to do that because the deployment of the PowerField Power Rack makes it a simple, non-skilled type of deployment. Just takes a little bit of elbow grease. For a cooperative like ours, O&M was a concern. We're not used to operating and maintaining a solar array, but luckily they take very little maintenance, so we felt it was a small barrier. We did contract with a local preferred solar installer to use their expertise to operate and maintain the array. For the arrays we currently have, it's been very little expense. For 150 members, 250 in all, we think that the administrative burden of crediting their bills with the solar energy this new array will produce is worth it. My programs team has developed a process that takes maybe 30 minutes a month to do so. It's really not that tough. Another thing that I wanted to point out, we are a distribution cooperative. We don't generally provide our own power. We purchase it in the wholesale environment. And without markets in Colorado, we do that from one local wholesale contract with Excel. But we have some flexibility in that to purchase economy energy, and we've leveraged that to buy more renewable energy through local distributed solar arrays and also through larger ones in the eastern side of Colorado. Excuse me. We really felt that in today's environment, a distribution cooperative or other utility really can have that ability to carve out a little small ownership potential. So our goal for sustainable solar, with 100% clean energy on the horizon, we're going to make renewable energy a reality for everyone. Today, renewable energy, it's not just that inaccessibility, but that higher energy burden that our low to moderate income members deal with every month. We hope that the success of an array that focuses on manufactured homes in our territories can allow us to build a new such array every year until those needs are met. Our outreach is going to be focused on the manufactured homes, both in parks and on owned lands throughout our territory, to find the 150 members who will be able to take a real ownership of the project and receive the benefits from it. So next slide, please. That's it. I really tried to condense this into an understandable format, give you with some resources and information on how we're implementing this project, and leave a lot of time for questions and answers. Stephanie of the Colorado Energy Office and I are available to answer any questions you might have about our projects and to talk about ways in which you might be able to replicate it. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Matt to moderate the questions that we do have. Matt, I'll turn on my camera so that you can see me here in the beautiful sunny Western Colorado.
Thanks so much, Lisa. Great presentation, a lot of great information. We do have quite a few questions to dig into. If Stephanie, and again, please, if you have any questions, please post those in the chat and we can raise those to Lisa and or Stephanie. Stephanie, if you're available and don't mind introducing yourself really quickly and your involvement in this project, that'd be great.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks, Matt. And thanks, Lisa, for putting on this webinar. Really proud of the work that we're able to support across Colorado, and I'm really excited that Holy Cross is taking the ownership of this and really going the extra mile in helping our rural communities, especially in our manufactured communities. So. Yeah, I am the director of the Weatherization Assistance Program. Our program is located in the Colorado Energy Office, so we get to really be a part of a lot of this kind of cool, innovative stuff since we're in the Energy Office. And we have worked very closely with our weatherization subgrantee agency, Northwest Colorado Council of Governments, who is doing a lot of the weatherization and the beneficial electrification in the .0 mobile home community, which is sort of how this all got started. And really big kudos to the director of that program, Doug Jones. He was the one who really kind of got everybody together, Eagle County and Holy Cross, and through the rebate structures that Holy Cross was able to provide, really helped to offset the electrification of that park. And really got this all in motion, and we've got some really great momentum. And I can say that we at the Energy Office, and in particular in weatherization, are really excited to be able to support this effort by being a primary funder.
Great, thanks, Stephanie. So for questions, I'll go from more broad to maybe more specific. One question we have from an attendee: when do you expect the project to be operational / what's the timeline for this project to look like?
We are working towards a September 2023 build. We'll do a 3-day event, probably on a Tuesday through Thursday in the middle of the week. We will then bring in the electricians to run the wires, and we hope to have it up and running by October to help with our members' winter bills.
And then some questions about manufactured homes and solar specifically. You mentioned kind of the rooftop versus community solar aspect and the benefits of community solar. Could you just touch more on some additional barriers, the challenges to deploying solar for manufactured homes, such as land ownership or manufactured homes communities?
Yeah, we can definitely do that. A lot of the parks don't have the local land available to put in a community solar array, but they also don't have what we've seen in our stock of manufactured homes, often the structure that would support the weight. We have quite a few mobile homes that are much older in our community, and with an engineering analysis, they're not able to support the weight of the solar panels. So we're looking at these community type array events, community farms, many different things that you can call them, that can provide either virtual net metering or can provide bill credits based on the production, which is what we have done in the past with our sustainable solar. to offset their electric bills and reduce the energy burden. You know, in a park, in the .0 mobile home park that we talked about as our first focus and goal, it was a privately owned park, but the residents did not own the land. And we looked to have solar as really a permanent structure. So as you're interconnecting that with the electrical system, often owned by the park, we've seen some barriers in some of our other areas too. You've got to bring a lot of parties in. You know, whenever you have an HOA, while if you have, you know, a single family resident stick-built home, you don't have as much control by that HOA as sometimes you do in a park, and you don't own the land. So putting something additional that's maybe outside the original thought process of the park, it's tough. It's really tough. And that doesn't even bring into the point that so often someone living in a manufactured home has lower or more moderate income than some of our other residents. And so bringing in their access to renewable energy and to reduce their energy burden, we think that's a really great way to do it. And if we can help them do it by something that I own and I can maintain on land and maybe separate from their site, I can get them those resources.
Great. And Stephanie, kind of that question directed towards you. Are you seeing statewide, are you seeing these types of challenges? Is solar for manufactured homes something you're looking at beyond Holy Cross Energy, and identifying any additional challenges?
Yeah, absolutely. There is a lot of community solar that's happening across the state right now, and we're actually working to develop more partnerships with developers of these community solar projects so that we can get, you know, a lot of them are developed and approved, providing that they have a carve out for a certain number of low income subscriptions available. And so a lot of times those developers are then coming to us and saying, hey, you know, this is a great natural fit. Can we, you know, can we provide you with some materials so that your folks, you know, the folks that are getting weatherized can then sign up for subscriptions for low income. And what I think one of the biggest challenges of that, we've got a pretty robust rooftop system in Colorado for weatherization in particular. One of the biggest challenges with the low income subscriptions that are being set aside is trying to create as much parity as we can with rooftop systems. So with rooftop systems, you know, you have a site-built home, you got a rooftop system, it's going to last you at least 20 years. You don't need to re-income qualify for that. Some of these low-income subscriptions that are being carved out, there are some re-income qualifying that needs to happen. And sometimes that's every year, sometimes it's every 3 years, sometimes it's 5 years. And so really working with those developers to try to get some parity between the rooftop systems and the community solar subscriptions, you know, where we can at least get, you know, preferably a lifetime subscription for these folks, but at least, you know, a 10 to 20 year subscription to try to get that parity. And we've been successful in negotiating that. It's hard for these developers to find the folks to actually subscribe to these subscriptions, and so it's been we've got a little bit of negotiating power, which has been nice. So, and that's, you know, that's great for so what we really want to do is to be able to target the manufactured housing, because we can't put rooftop systems on manufactured housing, as well as those homes that are they don't have solid roofs. So we can still weatherize them, but maybe the roof isn't in the right condition to be able to put a rooftop system on, or perhaps there's too much shade, and, you know, that's not something that weatherization can mitigate. Maybe the homeowner isn't able to remove the shade. And also for renters, I think that's a great opportunity. Community solar is a great opportunity for renters, because our program doesn't allow rooftop systems for renters.
Great, thank you. Another question for Lisa, and apologies if you touched on this in your presentation, but how is that outreach to the mobile home community / residents being done?
We're going to start first using Stephanie's existing clientele, and that existing clientele has been people that have received weatherization benefits. Holy Cross Energy is a great sponsor of the income qualified weatherization program at the Colorado Energy Office. And so we'll start first with identifying those sites of manufactured homes that have been weatherized or are in the queue to be weatherized. We'll reach out to those members and to see if they'd wish to be a part of it. We're going to focus and make sure that we reach out to everyone in that first pilot project that qualifies under the beach program. And in addition to that, Eagle County has identified the 1,500 manufactured homes in their county that we can begin the outreach. We've got financial support through CISA that's going to allow us to really try to reach these members in multiple different ways, and in Colorado in a couple different languages, to try to get as much engagement as we can. We also have manufactured homes throughout the rest of our territory in Pitkin and Garfield counties, and we do plan to work to identify those with our county representatives so that we can continue that outreach. I'd love to see the first day 150 people get excited about it and want to enroll, but we've seen that sometimes asking for help is a little bit harder for our members, and we want to do our outreach very conscientiously, so it's in a way that allows them to say, yes, I live in a manufactured home, I want renewable energy, and this might be their only opportunity to do so before we have 100% renewable energy for everybody.
Great, thank you. And back to Stephanie, kind of on that note, and something that you just mentioned is the challenge of getting people to sign up for a project. But I guess it could go to both of you. Do you find that there is enthusiasm about people going solar, manufactured homes, residents going solar? Is there a financial appeal? What would you say the general reaction is when you have these conversations?
I'll let you take that one, Lisa. I think you're probably more familiar with that than I would be.
I definitely can. We currently have 2 sustainable solar arrays. The first one we built on our gypsum campus with grid alternatives, and it was brand new, so we did our outreach to the community and we took our members in on a first come first serve basis. But we honestly really struggled to get the word out and complete the outreach at that time. This was back in 2016. We set the program up on a 2-year participation period. So every 2 years, members can apply. And if you are qualified by income qualifications, we put you in a hat, we do a lottery, you get to receive the energy for 2 years. And over the years, we would outreach through any members that we knew that lived in certain areas that might have taken advantage of other energy assistance programs that we have, that might have received assistance from the state for their energy bills, members that lived in designated low to moderate income communities. And we've always struggled a little bit in getting enough people to apply to justify the next array. So every year I worked very hard on that, and I was able to get enough enthusiasm with our membership to build my next array in last year in 2022. I'm wearing I'm wearing the shirt, Solar Adams Way. Unfortunately, we lost a member of our board of directors to an avalanche, and he was an absolute champion of not just renewable energy, but also equity and diversity, and to helping our neighbors and our communities. And so we built our next array dedicated to Adam Palmer, and we saw that the community knew who he was, and the community knew he cared, and as such, the impact of that array really brought us a much larger basis of members that were interested. And as we talked to each individual member and we educated and made them realize that not only was it going to save them money every month that they were in the program, but it was going to bring more renewable energy into our territory and provide them with renewable energy that they could power their house with. We got such great feedback, and I think people were really enthused. And I really think that as we work into this next array and we ask those members, like with the Habitat for Humanity model, to come in, spend 4 hours on one of those 3 days, or help me with further outreach to your communities to get more people to apply. I think we're going to see that enthusiasm, and we're going to see this grow. And my goals are to do one of these every year.
Excellent. We have quite a few questions related to the specific benefits of those participating, the economics of the project. So do you know what Lisa, do you know what the cost savings, the benefits, the price of energy will be reduced by with these incentives, Inflation Reduction Act, so on and so forth, but generally just the benefits to those participating?
Right now with our sustainable solar arrays that we have, we take all of the energy that is produced by those arrays. We provide the residents with a bill credit at 8.5 cents per kilowatt hour, which is just under our 10.5 cent retail value on their electric bill. Those members, we use their last year's usage to determine what 75% of their energy charges. Generally, if I can offset 75% of their energy charge, I can reduce their bill by 50%. So that's 50% of the money that comes out of their pocket each month for electricity. We do have a maximum cap of 5 kilowatts per member. We average about 3 kilowatts on our current program. Now that program's under a 2-year revolving period. And that was Grid Alternatives model back in 2016 when we started it. And so we hope to reach out to more and more members and get the word out to more and more members. With this program, we really wanted to model it more after, as Stephanie mentioned, that inequality of manufactured homes not being able to put it necessarily on their own roof, on not having their very own solar array. So in this model, we're going to do this one a little bit differently. We're going to set this up as a virtual net metering situation where the member is allocated a portion of the array, whatever the array produces, which we've seen great production out of the power field arrays. We do have to take a little deduction for snow load because it is lower to the ground than most ground arrays we know, but we're still seeing capacity at about 1,500 kilowatt hours per kilowatt annually. And so if each member can receive 3 kilowatts, 4,500 kilowatt hours at 10.5 cents, we feel like we're going to make a significant difference in their annual energy burden. I think that question also introduced the ITC. And so I hit on that a little bit in the presentation. What the ITC has the ability to do for us is to allow us to serve more members. We had originally looked and thought that we would be another 200, 250 kilowatts of capacity installed. But with the land that we have worked out at the airport, or we're fine tuning, we're still working out at the airport, I better qualify that. The additional funds that could come from the ITC being available to nonprofits is huge. I don't have all that nailed down. I'm waiting for the rules. All of the parties involved are nonprofits. It's an economic benefit project. That should give us additional percentages. It is possible, from what my research says, that an additional 50% in direct pay investment tax credit can come out of the IRA to provide for that funding. And so we've increased the size to 450 kilowatts. Our costs have increased all over the place. You know, inflation is so high right now. Even my own interconnection costs with transformer supply chain issues and such has increased. So the additional ITC funds is really going to make this a great project. So, you know, as you look at it, we're thinking, you know, $750,000 is going to get me the 400 kW. Do the math backwards. That is, for an array of that size, you know, it's not rooftop, so it's a lot cheaper than rooftop because it's bigger, but it's also not utility scale. That cost is going to be able to get us a great array at a great price.
On that, quick question, what is the expected footprint of this array? Do we know?
Footprint of the array, I'm still working on that. I didn't design it yet. You know, we're going to be able to do it within 2.5 acres. We'll have the array laid out. We'll have a 10-foot barrier between the array and our fence. Now in Colorado, we have to put our own perimeter fence around the solar array, even though it's within the airport's perimeter fence. So we'll have a 10-foot there. So I think we can do it in about 2.5 acres. We do put 4 feet between the panel rows. And of course, depending on how the final design goes on the layout, we'll decide how many rows we have.
Sorry, I'm navigating some more questions. Going back to the income qualifications of the beach program, and again, this may have been presented in the presentation. Just what are those? Can you describe the beach program again and those income qualifications and how it applies to manufactured homes residents?
Absolutely. And Stephanie, do you want to do that or do you want me to?
Yeah, I'm happy to speak to that. So, you know, at this point, most of that is happening through the Weatherization Assistance Program income qualifications, which for Colorado is 60% state median income with our federal funding sources. We do have some other funding sources, some more state and other utility funding sources where we can go up to 80% area median income. So it just kind of depends on what funding is being used. So anywhere between 60% SMI to 80% AMI.
We do have those charts located on our website at holycross.com. So you're welcome to look at those to see what type of income levels there are. It's based on the county. It's based on how many people are in the home. But those programs, along with my We Care Fund, was able to provide rebates, and there were other contributors too. It was really awesome because some of the costs of these weatherization projects on those pilot homes reached in, you know, to the $27,000, $28,000 to really do it all. But it was so needed. There were electrical panel upgrades included, the heat pump water heaters, the heat pumps themselves, the extensive insulation and weatherization, you know, repairing windows. Some of them had never had air conditioning before, which, yes, we're in the mountains, but it still gets pretty hot here. So bringing that all in at no cost to those members that were reaching that 60% of the area median income was huge. It was awesome. And we were just so blessed to be a part of it through having the We Care funds to help. And then we kind of just wanted to see what more we could do, and came up with the idea of doing that solar array. Originally, we had targeted a place right there on the side of the park and had hoped to put it there. But we had some land issues. We had some ownership changes in the park. The park was recently purchased by a for-profit organization. And then with the additional funding, we were able to grow bigger, and we outgrew that little piece of land. So we took it just down the road, still very visible and still in Eagle County. And that beach program, Eagle County, and beneficial electrification for Eagle County housing. You know, beneficial electrification is a tough one because you want to make sure that you're benefiting them fully in a full encompassing round thing. We want to make sure that that beneficial includes economics. And that was something that we studied hard. And this first pilot project location was an excellent example because they had very high propane costs, but those members also were seeing very aged systems that had forced them to begin using electric resistance heating. So space heaters. Some of the homes we discovered had nothing but space heaters. Their furnaces were not operating at all. And it led to high energy costs. So we really thought that we'd see, and we did see this past winter, the beneficial side in the economics for them also. And if we can continue to do the electrification and add the solar to make it even more economical for them, we just think it's a great way to do it, to help our community.
Great. Let's see. Questions are slowing down a bit. As far as the solar array, the solar panels themselves, you know, it's been discussed about the challenges of deploying solar on manufactured homes. Most of the roofs can't support the weight of solar for rooftop solar. Has Colorado Energy Office or Holy Cross Energy explored any other solar technologies, PV on a pole, anything like that to address particularly solar for manufactured homes?
Well, I can start with that. We knew that we couldn't put it on the roofs, and it probably wasn't the best feasible thing, and we wanted to own the array. So that way we could manufacture it, we could handle the administration of it, there'd be no undue burden on the members. The best thing for us was to do a ground mount, and we wanted to do it large enough, but I think what the PowerField Power Rack does for us really was bring that barn raising. By using volunteer labor, we're able to keep those costs down astronomically. And it gives us the ability to do more with less. That's where I went with when we found that rack and did our first array with them. And then after the fact, did that, you know, debriefing afterwards and realized that we can do this in a short amount of time and with a short amount of resources and make it work. But I'll let Stephanie answer that one too, about other types of equipment.
Yeah, thanks, Lisa. There is another manufactured community that we are working to electrify and move to solar in collaboration with the Colorado School of Mines, and they're up in Leadville, which is the highest incorporated town in the United States. And it's like, I don't know, a little over 10,000 feet in elevation. And their footprint is so small. And so we've been tossing around all sorts of ideas. You know, one of the things that we've looked at was I think it's called a solar flower. So we were looking at that. You know, those types of technologies, unfortunately, are still really expensive. So one of the things that we're looking at is trying to get creative. There's a Family Dollar retail store that's just on I think, the north side of the community. And so we've been talking to them about, is there any way we could long-term lease their roof space, and maybe even some surrounding restaurants that are right around there. Is that a possibility? So, not just looking at land, but can we do leases on roofs? So again, we haven't come to anything yet, but definitely looking at lots of different opportunities. And I would be really interested if anybody else has any creative ideas around things like that, because especially when it comes to manufactured housing, we really do need to get creative.
And Stephanie, as I mentioned kind of earlier in my presentation, with so many communities and organizations having goals, the airport had their goals, and we see some private airplane hangars there at the airport and some storage unit facilities that we're talking to now that are interested in exactly that they have the roof space. A storage facility doesn't have the load to maybe take advantage of net metering, but what a great visual thing for their business. And we're talking that how can they help out their community? And by hosting a solar array on a rooftop just like that, what a great opportunity. So think outside the box as you're looking to deploy solar for your manufactured home residences. Think outside the box. Think about who in the community might be able to help you with their process. We've got a great solar array on a Habitat for Humanity retail outlet, and that's a community array. It's not working in such like a solar farm, but it helps Habitat for Humanity. So there's options out there.
Thank you. It looks like we're coming up on the hour, so I'll pose one more question, and take your time. Don't feel like you need to answer it by the hour. And this is a question that I've heard come up in other circles, is related to subscription and length. What are the factors in the decision to have subscriptions last different lengths, 2 years, 5 years, 10 years, lifetime? And if this is based on income eligibility, also just the changes in income eligibility and residence types. So I know that's a lot, but I know that a lot of people are interested in that.
Yeah, there's so many different ways to do it, and there's so many different varieties. When we first started in 2016 with this type of a program, Grid Alternatives proposed the 2-year participation period. It lessened that application burden, that administrative burden that we still see now every 2 years when we do the outreach. We utilize Energy Outreach Colorado, which is another one of our community partners, to do the income qualification for us. Oftentimes, and especially this most recent participation period, we were able to utilize the LEAP. I can't remember what that acronym is right now, but it is a Colorado Energy Assistance Program that helps income qualified people with their electric, their fuel, even their water bills, their gas bills. If you qualified for that, we automatically qualified you for the participation in the program. If you lived in one of our known low to moderate income housing complexes, such as an apartment complex that is strictly for employees that meet this income guideline to live there, we automatically qualified you. And the 2 years, it does produce quite a bit of administrative burden to go through that process. And as a utility, we don't want your income documentations. So we engage our partners to help. So when we started talking with the Colorado Energy Office, we decided that they really wanted theirs to reflect their rooftop arrays, program that they already do. And so it was really a natural progression for us to take this one, especially because we're focusing it on manufactured housing, to take this one and make it a lifetime. That's going to stay with them as long as they're in that home, that address within Holy Cross. It's going to stay with them as long as that array produces, and they don't have to pre-qualify. And that does have a little bit of the nature of the housing in our area. Housing is incredibly expensive. It's hard to live here. And if you are in this environment living in manufactured home, sometimes it's a little bit tougher, and we don't want them to have to requalify and go through that burden every year. So we're going to have our sustainable solar program in 2 different methods, and it works.
Great. Thank you so much, Stephanie and Lisa. I think we'll close it out there if that's okay. And if others have questions, Sam, are you still running the slides? I can put my contact information up. If anybody else has any additional questions you'd like for Lisa or Stephanie, don't hesitate to reach out to me. Here are additional resources on the Scaling Up Solar for Under-Resourced Communities project. As Sam said at the top, this webinar will be emailed out to everyone who registered, and it will be posted on our website. So yeah, we'll continue to dig into this project and work with state agencies and electric utilities across the country to identify best practices, and plan to have future webinars with additional information on the topic. So again, if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me. And yeah, thanks to our panelists, and thanks to everybody who attended.
Thanks for having us, Matt and Sam.
That was a pleasure. Thank you.